Acting Secret Service Director Ronald Rowe testified yesterday in a Senate oversight hearing on the Trump assassination attempt. During his time, Senator Ron Johnson found some key differences in the story provided by Rowe and the law enforcement personnel present that day.
One of my preliminary findings is that the Secret Service did not attend the 9 o'clock briefing the day of the event. In your testimony, you said that a site briefing was conducted with Secret Service personnel and law enforcement partners supporting the event. Those both can't be true. So local law enforcement do not believe Secret Service was present at the 9 o'clock briefing. Were they or were they not?
So, Senator, with respect to the snipers that went on national television and gave an interview and said that they did not get a briefing from the Secret Service, they were supporting through mutual aid, and our personnel briefed the tactical team leader was leading that element that was providing this counter sniper.
So, Acting Director Rowe, you said that the Secret Service provides explicit instructions to the locals. Were explicit instructions provided to cover the roof of the AGR building and locals just not follow it, or were those explicit instructions not provided?
It's my understanding what was communicated is that the locals had a plan and that they had been there before.
Here to discuss his testimony and the investigation into the shooting is Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson, alongside Matthew Peterson, editor-in-chief of Blaze Media. Senator, thanks so much for joining us. Do you think that Acting Director Rowe helped clarify some of the important details of the Trump assassination attempt, or is it something that his predecessor didn't, and we're still all just looking for some answers here?
I think his answer was clear as mud. I asked him a simple question. Did the Secret Service attend the 9 o'clock briefing? And he goes on and talks about some other snipers being briefed by somebody. No, he did not provide clarity to just basically any situation. The fiery exchanges with Senator Hawley, Senator Cruz, none of those should have occurred because they shouldn't have even had to ask the question. Those answers should have been provided days after the assassination attempt. Here we are 18 days out, and we just really do not have the kind of clarity that we should have in terms of exactly what happened, what was the spectacular failure, who is ultimately responsible, or how many people are responsible for, again, the spectacular failure.
Senator, yeah, exactly. It's been 18 days. What are the top 2 or 3 things, the particular things that you think are at the tip of the spear that haven't been answered yet?
Well, in the Wednesday briefing following the assassination, with Director Wray and Director Cheadle, they were all concerned about conspiracy theories taking hold and spreading. And so in our briefing with Acting Secretary Rowe last Thursday, I made the point, listen, if you don't want conspiracy theories being spread, tell us what you know. If something is out there on the internet and it's wrong, correct it immediately. But they're not doing that. So, for example, one of the rumors out there is that Secret Service snipers had Matthew Crooks in their sight for minutes, asked for permission to take him out. The permission was denied. Now, I asked that of Acting Director Rowe in the secure briefing. He said that wasn't the case. He didn't really clarify it. I mean, we still don't know at what point did those Secret Service snipers first notice Crooks on the roof. We still don't know that. We know they took him out after he fired off 8 shots. But we did find out from local law enforcement, for example, that by 5:54, Secret Service sniper had the picture of Crooks, knew that individual, that Crooks was at the AGR building. So that was 26 minutes before the first shots were fired. Again, that photo was taken at 5:14, almost an hour before the first shots were fired. So what happened in that 26 minutes from when the sniper received the photo and his location? What were they doing? Why weren't they continuously scanning the AGR building? I've just seen a video on the internet taken by somebody in the crowd where you can easily see somebody running around at the ridge of the roof, and that's Crooks. So the crowd saw him. Why didn't Secret Service snipers see him?
To your point there, is it fair for Secret Service to go through, again, the answer is as clear as mud, is it fair for Secret Service to blame local police for the roof being left completely wide open that day?
Well, if they're going to blame them, they better tell us everything they did to provide instructions, whether or not they actually attended the 9 o'clock security briefing, or they just set the perimeter and say, you guys handle that. Again, if that's all they did is you guys take care of that and we got confidence in you, I don't see how they can really blame them. They're in charge. They should have recognized that AGR roof was a true vulnerability and made sure that it was covered. Explicitly given instructions to whoever they assigned that roof to, that roof was covered 100%. So this could never happen. Again, this is a spectacular failure. Acting Director Rowe says he can't defend this. Well, he didn't do a very good job of providing us the answers in terms of exactly what happened.
Senator, one of the most disturbing things that we've heard from many people coming forward in the last few days is that the fact pattern of what we know certainly doesn't rule out that this person was groomed and potentially point some people in that direction. Given that he had an encrypted phone, rangefinder, drone, he scouted out the location. Do you have any thoughts about that?
We just don't know enough. Okay, so he had encrypted applications, others weren't encrypted. The FBI, the deputy director, was again, his testimony, on one hand, he said applications show him to be anti-Semite, anti-immigrant, and then Senator Blackburn was talking about other apps showing him to be pro-immigration. What is it? I thought it was very strange that Deputy Director Abate talked about that they're investigating this as an assassination attempt, obviously, but also an act of domestic terrorism. What's that about? Remember, the FBI views half of America, the Biden administration views half of America as potential domestic terrorists because we voted for Donald Trump and not President Biden. Are they already politicizing this assassination attempt as well? Are they trying to hang the assassination attempt on a MAGA Republican? I mean, I have no idea. It makes no sense to me that they're investigating as both an assassination attempt and an act of domestic terrorism. That's just bizarre. I have no explanation, and Deputy Director Abate did not answer that question to my satisfaction either.
So what's the solution for all of this? If we go through and look at it with these agencies, we know that the FBI isn't going to come forth with all of the information as we've seen the way that they've been treating Donald Trump historically. So what is going to happen with what to do this with moving forward? Excuse me.
Well, there are a number of ways we can proceed. I know former CBP Commissioner Mark Morgan suggested an independent commission. Certainly, we're going to be doing oversight. Now, the House has got assigned their task force. The committee I used to chair, that's now chaired by Senator Peters, the two chairmen and the two ranking members of the full committee and the permanent subcommittee investigation, we've joined in a joint bipartisan investigation. I appreciate both Chairman Peters and Blumenthal pressing Acting Director Rowe to make Secret Service personnel available not in weeks, but in days for transcribed interviews. I mean, we do not have the investigatory capability and capacity to do what the FBI can do. So we're going to have to rely on their investigators. They've already done interviews with some 400 individuals, more than 400 individuals. They need to make those 302s, those reports of those transcribed interviews available to Congress for our oversight. They need to be transparent in their investigation as well. Instead of what they always do is, well, we have an active investigation, so we can't share any information whatsoever. So they have to be way more open, way more transparent. And I look to the points that former Governor Rick Scott, now Senator Rick Scott, made. He was governor during some horrific terrorist attacks, mass shootings. And what they did is they held daily, sometimes multiple briefings per day to inform the public. The public is intelligent enough to realize that early briefings are going to be incomplete, maybe inaccurate, they're preliminary, but you have greater confidence when you're telling people what you know when you find it out. The federal agencies are just, it's ingrained on them that they're not responsible to Congress, which means they're not responsible to the American people, that they don't feel they're accountable, and that's how they act. It's completely contrary to what would be good for them in terms of restoring confidence of the American people in them.
Certainly agree with that. And I know that our audience is very happy everything that you're doing and pushing, because I also know our audience doesn't trust the federal government at all to investigate itself. And I want to ask about Homeland Security Director Mayorkas in this, because as far as I know, I mean, speaking of government investigating himself, there's still a January 6th report about the failures of the Secret Service that hasn't come out that he's sitting on. Where is he in all this? I mean, clearly he's partially to blame, perhaps, right? Is that on the table? Where has he been?
He is AWOL. Again, we don't know who denied Secret Service protection for example, RFK Jr., whose uncle and father were murdered in assassinations. Who denied? And again, first the Secret Service spokesman said nobody denied. Then you have the article by the New York Times and Washington Post saying, no, Secret Service did deny enhanced protection for President Trump, for Mar-a-Lago. So what is the truth there? And of course, Mayorkas has just been absent from the scene. In the end, President Biden is ultimately responsible, but when it comes to Secret Service, it really is Mayorkas. And we haven't heard from him at all. And again, that's one of the concerns of the public, is that the Secret Service protection was partisan, that they provided adequate security for President Biden and the First Lady, but did not provide adequate security for President Trump. And certainly not RFK Jr., who they denied Secret Service coverage until this assassination attempt, which I think is a complete scandal. I was calling for Secret Service protection months ago, but Biden was playing politics, making sure that RFK Jr.'s campaign was bled of those funds to provide his own security. Again, pure politic play, and really risking RFK Jr.'s life. He had a couple pretty scary instances of security breaches, and yet the Biden administration, until the assassination attempt, denied him Secret Service coverage. So it sure appears that the Secret Service protection was meted out on a highly partisan, highly political basis.